Claude Code is the most powerful AI coding tool on the planet, and using it inside Antigravity gives you a serious edge over anyone else. Anthropic just released a new feature that lets you build any workflow 3 times faster and with better quality than anyone else. In this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to build Claude's agent teams feature and how to unlock its full capabilities inside Antigravity so you can outbuild your competitors. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Joe. I'm an ex-senior manager in big tech. I scaled my own AI agency to 6 figures, helping more than 50 businesses transition to AI. And with that aside, get comfortable and let's dive straight in. Antigravity and Claude together are unstoppable. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to be able to use Claude inside Antigravity. Specifically, we're also going to touch the new experimental update that Claude Code just released, which is how we're going to be able to use the new feature, which are agents team, that will allow you to build more solid workflow 10 times faster than any of your competitors, but only if you know how to use them correctly. Otherwise, you're just going to risk to burn a lot of cash during the process. And this is exactly what we're going to talk about today. However, before we start, let me just share with you a little bit of context. How are we going to be able to use Claude inside Antigravity? Most people think that it's Claude Code versus Antigravity. However, this is not the case. Claude, we can think about it as an engine, like a very powerful engine, and Antigravity, we're gonna think about it as a car, like our Ferrari, right? So what does it mean? It means that one actually powers the other one. And this also means that Claude will be our brain, while Antigravity will be the environment in which we're gonna build our things. So let me quickly show what you are going to learn out of this video. First of all, I'm gonna show you how you can access any Claude skill within Antigravity, and I'm gonna show you one that I personally use that takes Claude from a junior developer to a senior developer. Then we're gonna discuss when we will be using Claude inside Antigravity or when we'll be using Gemini. And lastly, I'm gonna teach you exactly how you can use the agent teams new feature within Antigravity using Claude Code as a model. Now, think about it this way when we talk about agent teams. So imagine to have a marketing team and to give them the responsibility of creating the new website. Our marketing team will have a team leader, which is this puppy right here in blue. And then we will have a lot of employees, right? Each one with its own individual task. For example, a backend developer, a front-end developer, someone that takes care about security and compliance, someone that takes care about the copy, someone that takes care about the colors, and so on and so forth, right? So what is the advantage here? The advantage here is that agent teams, unlike any other functionality of Claude, allows every single agent right here to talk one another. And we can have an individual context of these agents, which is up to 1 million token, depending on the model that we're actually going to be using. So the reason why agent teams is so disruptive is that this will enable a lot of sub-agents to work in parallel, each with an individual task, decreasing the time that it will take to build an automation by at least 3 to 5 times. And this will allow you to build better quality and faster than any of your competitors. What is the drawback though, which we're gonna address with this video? That if you don't know how to use them, then this is extremely greedy in terms of token, which means in terms of money. And you're gonna risk to burn out a lot of money very fast. So with that said, let me show you how we're gonna tackle all of this. So let's now unlock the Claude Code superpowers within Antigravity. And in order to do that, we're gonna have to do it in 3 steps. And the first step will be setup. So in order to set up Antigravity, if you are new to the space, you're just gonna press here, so Antigravity in Google, and you're gonna download the Mac version if you're on Mac, otherwise whatever system you're using. And this is the interface you're gonna be welcomed with. So as you know, we're just gonna open a folder and go inside our desktop and find actually our project, which is Antigravity plus Claude Code. So basically, as you know, every agentic workflow lives within a workspace, which is basically a folder where we will contain all of the documents that we're going to be using throughout the project. So how are we actually going to unlock the Claude Code superpower? We first need to install it. And the way we do it is by pressing this button right here, which is the extensions. And you can actually see this as a Chrome extension, to be clear. And so here we're going to press Claude code. And these can be toggled on and off. And basically this simply means that you are adding this to your Antigravity project. So you're gonna go here, and then right here, you're gonna have the chance to install it. Once you have installed it, you will have this button right here that you can actually press. And this is exactly how we're gonna be able to enter Claude Code inside Antigravity. Now, this is what we would call the graphical user interface, but this is not the only way in which we can access Antigravity, right? We can access it also inside the terminal. The terminal is right here. This is a button that you are not gonna be able to see right now, but it's basically drawn like this, and it's up here, right? So we are gonna press it, and below here, we're gonna see the terminal. Now, I'm gonna put this full screen right here, and what we're gonna write now is Claude. Once we write Claude, what's gonna happen is that the workspace will be initialized, and we will be able to use Claude from our terminal, which is actually the place where we will be using agent themes. So let's now run a quick example in parallel. We're gonna write something along the way of, "Hi, how are you?" in both in the graphical user interface and in the terminal, right? And we're just gonna press enter. And what you will see is that you will simply receive an answer from Claude, which is the same thing, right? So, "Hi, doing well, thanks for asking," and "Hi, Giovanni, doing well, thanks for asking." So using it in the terminal or in the graphical user interface for you will not have any big difference. However, just to be clear, agent themes, you will be able to use it only inside the terminal interface. That's why I would recommend that you start getting familiar with it. Now, going back to our Antigravity, and so pressing a button right here that will display the chat, we see that right here, we also have the chance within Antigravity to change our model, right? And in here, if I zoom in, you can see that you also have the possibility of accessing the Claude Sonnet 4.6 thinking and Opus directly from this interface. Now, there is one big disclaimer, which is that within Antigravity, here, the Claude Sonnet and the Claude Opus 4.6 are going to be free as far as the token usage is concerned, right? However, it's going to be extremely limited compared to the Gemini 3.1 Pro High, right? Because, of course, this is a Google product, and so they're going to be more flexible with the models that are belonging to Google. Now that we know all of this, let's simply finish the setup by changing our model to Claude Sonnet, and we need to go and import skills. And what are skills? Skills are nothing more than an enhancement that we do to Antigravity in order to give it some superpowers, right? So where do we find it? You can go to the marketplace to find general skills, and here I would highly recommend you to go to skillsmp.com. It has more than 300,000 skills, right, that you can choose from. However, I have a skill that will give your Claude Code additional superpowers, and as promised, we will move from junior developer to senior developer. And in order to find it, you can go inside my Skool Community classroom sections in the tutorials. And then right here within Claude Code, I put the repository for you. And this is actually the Obra superpowers. And this gives us a lot of possibilities. And what I want to do is show you how you can actually import it and have it already inside your project so that we can move to more difficult and technical stuff later on. So we're just going to copy it, go back to Antigravity. We're going to paste it here, and we're going to be asking, "Hey, can you please import these skills in my project?" And now you're gonna press enter. What's gonna happen? Slowly, we're gonna see that the agent will start thinking and therefore generating, right? And here we can go too fast because we don't really have the necessity of thinking. And then we should see that the system will start importing these folders right here. And then eventually we will see all of the things that are within our repository right now. Now, real quick, what are the superpower that we're actually giving Claude Code importing this repository? So initially, we're gonna be able to brainstorm. What does it mean? It means that this always activates before we run the code, right? And what this helps us do is to refine rough ideas, and therefore it's an additional thinking process that we have in place to prevent Claude Code from hallucinating or from going in a direction that it wasn't supposed to go in the first place. Then another skill that I wanted to show you is the writing plans. So here it's very useful when you approve a design, right? So what it does is break the work into bite-sized tasks. So 2 to 5 minutes each. And every time we complete a task, we will also have not only the complete code, but also the verification steps in place. So this is a repository that will allow our workflow to verify itself, and therefore it will enable us to properly use the power of AI. Perfect. And as you see, we have plenty of skills, and also the one that I was showing to you before, which is super interesting, and we're going to use it straight away before moving to Subagents. And this is the brainstorming, right? So you must use this before any creative work. So let's do an example just for us to be able to understand it. Hey, if you were to run now a research on how you should write the perfect copy for an outbound email marketing campaign, how would you do it? So what we're now giving, it's a top level instruction. And now what we can ask is, when you are trying to answer this question, please use the brainstorming skill. And so what does this do? Okay, so technically speaking, we don't need to ask the LLM, when trying to answer the question, please use the brainstorming skill. And why? Because we see right here that the skill says that you must use this before any creative work. However, we don't have to forget that LLMs are non-deterministic, and therefore they are probabilistic. What does it mean? It means that there is always the chance that we will have a 1% of error. So simply by reinforcing it in the prompt just reduces also that 1% and pushes it as close as possible to 0. So that's why we want to be specific whenever we're asking something. And if we have a skill, we want to refer to it, right? So here we have the brainstorming research plan, and you will see how complete this is. So explore context, define the research, then it will give us 2-3 research approaches. So this is desk research, empirical reverse engineer, platform narrative research. Then we have the design, then the synthesis, and so on and so forth. So you can see that actually this brainstorming skill is just enhancing the ability of, in this case, Claude, of thinking. Now that we are done with the setup phase, we're gonna introduce a new feature that not a lot of people know this exists, that would allow you to do anything 3 times faster and with higher quality than anyone else, right? And this is what we call Subagent. So how are we gonna use it? We're gonna close this folder and we're gonna get rid of most of the stuff right here, but we're gonna open the terminal. So here we're gonna press Claude, dangerously skip permissions. And what this is going to do is this is going to open a Claude instance that will not need our continuous approval in order to perform a task. And why are we going to do it? Because now we're going to go back to my Skool community and take this prompt right here. So this prompt says, run 3 subagents in parallel, research 5 industries where AI automation saves the most time in 2026. Then 5 common objection business owners have about buying AI services, and then 5 automation tools an agency can resell to client in 2026. Now, why is this disruptive? Because compared to the traditional way of using Claude Code, here we have 3 things that are running in parallel. So this would take at least 1/3 of the time, right? Because instead of running with agent 1 and then agent 2 and then agent 3, they all run at the same time. Therefore, by the time that one is done, all of the rest are also going to be finished. Then here, we're going to save the output, right, in a markdown file in a folder called agency intel. So here, and this folder will be the one that will be populated once these agents are done running. And what we can see right here, and let me also zoom in, is that we have spun up the 3 agents that we were mentioning, and they are now running in parallel. As you can see, each one is calling a different amount of tools and is also burning or using a different amount of tokens. We know that these can be up to 200,000 tokens or 1 million tokens, depending on the model. Now the agent finished running, and we can see, right, that all 3 files are ready in an agency intel / and we have a file topindustries.md, common objections, and resellable tool. Now, just for you to be able to see how comprehensive this is, let me just close the terminal for a second. Look at this. This is the path for the common objections, right, that we can have right here. Here, it's the resellable tools that we currently have. So go high level, Stummer A, AI, Synthelo AI, and so on, and top industry as of March 2026. So healthcare, financial services, customer services, and so on and so forth. So what we now created is, again, a team of 3 people that, by the way, are working independently and autonomously. But what is the biggest drawback that not a lot of people understand is that right now, even though this is great, so these agents are running 3 research that are completely independent. However, we know that from these teammates we would love these to communicate one another, right? Just like a normal team, because this would increase the efficiency and the output quality, right? If used correctly. So what can we introduce now? Now, this is where the experimental feature that Claude recently introduced comes into play. And here we will talk about agent teams. So now that we're here, how are we actually going to import the subagents inside Antigravity, right? What do we do in this case is we go back to the official Claude documentation, and right here you can actually find in build with Claude Code the run agent teams. And what you're gonna do is simply copying the page. Then you're gonna just move within Antigravity and say something along the way of, hey, can you please import this for me? And then you are just gonna press this, right? So here we pressed how we can actually import the agent teams. And one thing that I would like to discuss right now real quick is, other than showing you actually what this means in terms of workflow and in terms of information for the agent teams, I would like also to draw some differences between subagents and agent teams. So first of all, one thing that I would like us to notice right away is that whenever we were mentioning that they cannot communicate one another, we mean that the conversation right here is in one direction, right? So agent to subagent, and then the subagent gives only the result to the main agent. And this is valid across the 3 subagents that we were using before. Now, what we're gonna do right here is that we're gonna have, as we saw before, a main agent that will create a shared tasks lists, and then every teammate will have their own role within this task list, right? So we will know exactly what is the scope of the agent and why are they doing it. And we can see that the communication in this case is bi-directional. So not only from teammate to main agent and vice versa, but it's also from teammate to teammate. And actually, one thing that we don't see is that we can even have this communication, right? Because all the teammates can communicate one another. So just right here, we can understand that given the fact and visually, just simple arrows, we have a lot more information that are shared, even though these are all independent, let's say, context. The results are going to be shared within this interaction, and so we will burn a lot more token. To give you a range, we generally burn from 3 to 5x the tokens that we would burn with subagents. Okay, now what are going to be other differences? So here we will have, as mentioned, the context. So for subagent context windows, everyone has its own, and results return to the caller, so to the main agent. Now here, it's true that here we have the independent context window, right? And they are fully independent, but we know that the result now move within multiple teammates and etc. because the teammates have the ability of messaging each other. And this is the actual superpower if we use it right. Because right now, if a teammate is stuck on a task and then needs the help or needs information that another teammate is retrieving, then they can communicate and they can share these, right? And now what it means, exactly what I just explained you from the visual standpoint, that we will have a higher token consumption, and then we will have, given from the fact that agents are going to communicate one another and each teammate is a separate Claude Code instance that is sharing information with the other. Now back to our Antigravity, we have that this is done. So how can we check this? Now we can check this by opening again the terminal. So now let me open simply a new terminal right here. We're gonna type Claude, and what I'm gonna ask is, hey, do you have access to agent teams? And we're now gonna see the answer, and most likely the answer, if we imported the project correctly, it's going to be yes, right? So even though we imported it with Antigravity, now we know that we have the ability of doing specific things, and this is team create, this is task create, send message, agent, team delete, and so on. So now what are we going to do? Now I'm going to run the same prompt and I'm going to show you the result both on the agent teams and also in the simple Claude instance with with the subagent because I want you guys to be able to appreciate what is the difference in terms of output, right? So now I'm gonna paste it right here. You're gonna find it in my Skool community and we can check the results. And okay, these are the results. So this is the one that was built by Claude normally. So expenses, we have the date, like total spend, and here we can, I don't know, Giovanni, and we can 20, and we will see that this is updated automatically. And then here we have the one that is built from agent teams, right? So let's see, Giovanni, if we spend 20, here we even have a menu, right? And we can add it and this will be summed up. So if you can see here, this is of higher quality. We have the emojis, we have the remove button, which is nicer, like versus the X and so on and so forth. However, now here are a couple of considerations. So in this specific case, we had one layer and one workflow, right? Basically speaking, using agent teams here was a little bit overkill because there was no particular reason to use such a token intensive way of building something with such a simple task. So in this specific example, you can also see that the difference in terms of quality is not so massive. Yes, we have some couple of additional fixes that we would do to the UI because we maybe don't like the points and etc. But overall, for the effort spent in terms of token and money, I don't think there is a big difference. I think that the biggest ROI here would simply be to have an additional prompt and simply to fix the UI. However, when does agent teams becomes relevant? When we have something which is iterative and needs a lot of iteration and collaboration. So for example, if we're building a SaaS with a lot of layers, integration, multiple pages, where the efficient communication of the various agents is required because it will massively increase the output quality, right? So that is the use case where I would recommend to use the agent teams. And if you have something that can be described with 2, 5, or 10 lines, simply use regular AI or regular Claude. Now, if you're a 9-to-5er thinking, okay, like now I understand this, how do I actually monetize from it? Well, I left down below the first link in the description, which is the link to the one-on-one mentorship program with me, where I can help you out to start and scale your AI agency within the next 90 days. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, I'm pretty sure you're also gonna love this video right here.